Alright, muri yeZimbabwe kusangana kwatiri kuita zvakare ipo pano pazimunews update apo patinoda kupa mafirst hand update anonga ari kuitika munyika yedu yeZimbabwe. So kana uri mutsa usabve pano usina kusubscribe, kulike nekushare. Sekuzo kwatiri kuita muri yeZimbabwe muno munyika hazvina kumira zvakanaka nenhau yeconstitutional amendment bill number 3 iro rida kuextenda term yapresident Emmerson Mnangagwa from 2018 to 2030 muri yeZimbabwe, sezvo tiri kuona kuti zvitete izvi zvemuri kuona because pakutorongwa dynasty yemono mutapa kingdom cheche, because tiri kuona kuti stage 1 iyi stage 2 stage 1 vakatanga pavakaparadza triple C opposition vakaiparadza kuti ite one party state, vakapedza stage 1. Stage 2 ndo yavari yeconstitutional amendment bill number 3, then stage 3 ndeye mono mutapa kingdom wanenge wapedza ubva wagadzira palace yavo kumount Upton muri yeZimbabwe. So muzora nhasi tine nhau tiri kutambira kune bepa nhau reThe Harare Times kuri kutaura kunzi kuonekwa matengers ari kufamba kuroad inonzi Lomagund Road muri yeZimbabwe muguta reHarare, tisikazive kuti zvinhu izvi chii chiri kunyatsa kumboitika chaizvo muno munyika yeZimbabwe. Zvinhu hazvina kumira zvakanaka apo patiri kuona futi president Emmerson Mnangagwa vanga vaina president oro ndi mambo, haisi president ndi king Musuwate muri yeZimbabwe. Rekeze tinyase kuona kuti nhau dzacho dzakamira sezvo zvetiri kunyatsa kukudze kuti vachiri kumayambo hazvisa zvaguma zvinhu izvi zvikuramba zvichienderera mberi, but zvinonga zviri kufambwa nazvo bijana vachiona kuti zvinhu zvacho zviri kunyatsa kumbofamba sei. Rekedzai tione kuti tikuratidze panapa tione kuti zvakamira sei. So tiri kuona panapa muri yeZimbabwe pakanyorwa kunzi he came via a coup and sanitized it through ZANU-PF structures, parliament and the Concord, abusing our constitutional makamusekerera. Now he is using the same process to sanitize his kingdom. Toseka futi ko tozokwana nguva muri yeZimbabwe ndo zvekutaura panapo kutoti makatomusekerera futi seconstitutional amendment bill number 3 iyi ndokutopasa kwayo muri yeZimbabwe. tiri kuona kuti zvinana attorney general Virginia Mabhiza ndiwe ZANU-PF, ana ziyambe wacho ndiwe ZANU-PF, clerk of parliament wacho kusvikira sort of like submission evanhu vari kuvhotera constitutional amendment bill number 3. hakuna kana munhu ari kuopposa constitutional amendment bill number 3 anenge ari kundezve ZANU-PF. saka it's obvious tobva tati muparliament macho muri kunzi vanhu vacho vanenge vachivhota padebate racho rinenge richiitwa munhu wese ari kubenefita ari muparliament imomo kuti anga achienderera mberi, because haisi kuextenda kwetemu yapresident, kuextenda kwetemu yakansela, kuextendwa kwetemu MP and masenators, maministers and everything. So vanhu vazhinji vanenge vachitosapota, but ekwakurunzi kuextendwa kwetemu yapresident chete taiona kuti veruzhinji vanga vasikasapoti constitutional amendment bill number 3 iroro muri yeZimbabwe. Chinova chiricho chiratidzo chinoratidza kuti zvinhu hazvinombomira zvakanaka. So tiri kuona pana pakanyorwa kuti soldiers are not trained only to protect one family. Babangomo honai kuenda nyika ndo zvekutaura panapa kutoti tiri kuona kuti maarmy yakuprotecta muzuva ranhasi futi kurunzi military because kwakaonekwa mapepa zandi unga takazvisa panapa takavabudisa nemavh11 acho, but military kunzi yakabatwa nemacorporals anga pa on duty hanzi akapinwa zvekutoti now ari pama1 muri yeZimbabwe. tisikazive kuti nhau iyi ichapera sei, but president Emmerson Mnangagwa vanga vaina king Musuwate sezvo zvetiri kuona kuti vauda kupiwa manotsi ekutoti kingdom inenge yakamira sei uye inombotongwa sei uye zvinenge zvakamira sei. So muri yeZimbabwe toti tinzo macomrade wetinao pano tikuzivisa kuti zvinenge zvakamira 1-1.
That people are holding their extreme views to try and differentiate one from the other, or to try and put that their one is the one on top of the other. But the three religions have never argued. They have sustained because they know, the three religions know they are coming from one source. The interpretation of the source, one might turn around and go in depth in it. The other one might turn around and just go skim out and put their variations, but they're talking about one God. But you will never find them arguing about God.
Okay, Zeti. So you expect Islam Judaism and Christianity to sit together and argue, or
Yes, because they've done that before.
or it's the followers of those religions?
No. I'm saying high level. That's why I said on the street. On the street, they argue 24/7, 7 days a week.
What is high level?
High level, I'm talking about high
At
level.
leadership level, they actually
Yes.
meet and discuss common areas and departing points. They do those meetings.
Okay, that's fine. I like how you both landed on my lap. All right. This is a comment I'm going to put. Islam is a creation by Catholicism. Islam. So you will find that 100% of what Islam believes in comes from Catholicism. 100%.
Okay, finish the statement.
Would you find a Muslim saying what you're saying now?
Hold on, Onkap. Finish your statement. It's not finished yet.
Okay.
Islam is a creation by
Catholicism.
Okay, finish your statement. It's not complete. Catholicism is a creation by who?
By men.
No.
Too slow for me. You're telling me that they can fight on all those holy wars.
Catholicism is a creation by Judaism.
Okay.
Judaism is the one. Judaism is the one that got all, that transcribed all.
Okay.
Of those religions. This is why Judaism is able to turn around and channel the connection. They were the scribes.
Okay.
So on all three.
Citizen and Ndomiso, including you, Ongabi, who are active in this discussion, please, I have a request. Ndomiso, you introduced something when you were talking about Enoch, where you said this book of Enoch, what makes it probably out of the Bible? It's the emphasis on witchcraft and some beliefs around how a person can be saved by observing certain rituals conducted by witches, something like that. To me, that discovery into me, so
sorry, that covers all the apocryphal books. It's a comment on all apocryphal books. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So what I wanted is, as you bring, because maybe Zeti was not in or Ongabi had also dropped, but I wanted you to look at that book of Enoch in the context of power of either religion, mythology, or something that we are talking about. I may not be able to word it correctly, but this element of power, Zeti touched on it. But I want to understand the variations where, when we look at the book of Enoch, we look at the things that are placed as an emphasis for salvation, and therefore ordinary Christians would say is the imagination of maybe some other man after Enoch, which has nothing to do with Enoch. And the other issue is, why don't we look at the character of power? Do we have this power that we see in creation coming to the church, maybe demonstrated by Christianity, by the Muslims, or maybe my concern is we seem to believe in Africa in most of our discussions. The Greek mythology that he mentioned, that yes, Egyptians were part of it, and therefore, to some extent, it was raping in Africa. I want you to understand, because you will notice that these powers we are talking about, they control human beings. But how, I don't know. I want to understand. You guys, you know these things better than me. You can proceed, guys.
Uzeti was there. He just made a comment that it's a fabrication. That was it. I think that was the putting to bed the conversation, really. Yeah. All right. I'm finding it difficult to share my thoughts on these issues because I will sound like I'm just oversimplifying everything to Catholicism. When I'm talking about Catholicism, I'm not talking about the ordinary Catholic that attends church. Catholicism is got two branches. There is the true Catholicism that is practiced behind the scenes, and then there's the Catholicism of the cattle, the ordinary people who genuinely go to church to worship God. Catholicism is not Christianity.
Dumbiso, you're making noise. This guy's been making a lot of noise.
Okay,
Sorry, Cost. I'm sorry for interrupting. He's
that's
making
fine.
claims that he cannot back. I'm Catholic myself, and it hurts me to hear a Christian talk like this. Why are SDS so much with rage and pain in whatever you talk about? What do you mean there are two kinds of
If
Catholicism?
yeah,
Wait,
that's fine.
shut up, wait.
No,
You said,
I was the one speaking. You interrupted me.
wait.
You interrupted me.
You've been making very serious claims
Yeah,
here
but you
that
can't come
you
and say
cannot,
shut up and all sorts. I was the one
because
speaking.
you're saying useless things, do me so.
Yeah, it's fine. Let me finish those useless things. Then you be correct when you speak after me.
You can't say Catholicism is behind the creation of Islam. That's stupid.
Okay.
That's very stupid. How can you say Catholicism is the creation of Islam?
We can talk over each other and just.
Yeah, okay. This discussion should never degenerate into some form of fights or a position that pulls down the other one. Anyway, the question is not so much about Catholic or some other religion. It's so much about where we find ourselves as human beings. And we are learning, because I have realized, it's me, I've realized that these things embedded in religion, founded in literature, witnessed in literature, they come to have some influence on people's lives and our lives specifically. And we have come up with something that we have in secular discussions: power that shifts in minds, changes the way people see things. And then you go to this modern world of miracle worlds, miracle things, and so on and so forth. So let's be cool. This is not a diagnosis of churches. This is not a diagnosis of some specific church organizations. Let's just talk about the Greek mythology, the Book of Enoch, facts, and the misconceptions that are there. And when we do that diligently, we should be able, Domiso, don't worry about church namings and so on and so forth, because any church where it stands, and in this instance, you're so much talking about things that are not African in nature. I also want you guys to visit Africa as you find Greek mythology, and we locate ourselves. Where are we standing? This is what will benefit us as a people. We embrace Christianity, we understand it has come in many versions, and the first church in Christianity is named Universal. And universality is found in Catholic. And the Catholic, you have given us background that it ever existed even before Christianity is introduced. Yes, we understand, but we want to see its impact, the power that it displays in our lives. Not necessarily that this is right, this is wrong. No.
Okay. That's why I was saying I find it difficult to make points on this issue because people will be affected, like this gentleman here who just spoke. Which is why I was making the difference to say there's two things. Even the popes, there's two popes. There's the pope everyone sees, the one who wears white, and then there's the black pope that the majority don't see. Literally, there are two popes. So there is a face that is shown to the world, which is Christianity, and that's the front face, which is our saying. Ordinary people attend church on a Sunday, genuinely attending church on a Sunday. Then there is the stuff, the occultism that happens in the background, which is not shown to the world. So when Ongab said they meet together and discuss and so on, that's the background. This is now where now you are going to bring in the Masons, the Freemasons. You are going to bring the Illuminati, all these organizations, which you're going to bring the people like the Queen, who are 33-degree Freemasons and so on, the world leaders and so on. So you're going to bring the mechanism of purpose. And now we're moving away from the ordinary church. So when I'm saying Catholicism, I'm not talking about the ordinary church. I'm talking about the one in the background, the real church in the background. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So how do we get to that? The simple answer is, let's start with the reformers. John Huss. Maybe before we get to John Huss, let's talk about Joachim of Fiore, the first one to use the day-year principle of interpretation of biblical prophecy. I think it was somewhere in the 8th century, if I'm not mistaken. Joachim of Fiore. You can Google him now. It's out in the public domain. Then we get to Huss, John Huss. I think he was from Czechoslovakia. He was a Catholic who identified Catholicism as the Antichrist 200 years before Luther. Then we have Wycliffe. Then we have people like Luther. We have people like this French guy who started the Presbyterian Church, the one of the best people that did on faith. What is he called? Wow, I don't know why I'm forgetting names. Then you have
Have you fought yet?
people like Melanchthon. Yeah, we are fighting already.
Ndumiso, try to
summarize.
Yeah, try to summarize
Yeah.
so that he gives this other guy who is raising
Yeah.
his hand.
So we have people like Melanchthon. We have the English reformers, people like Latimer and so on. So we have all these people. 90% of reformers identified the Antichrist. That is an interpretation of Daniel chapter 2, Daniel chapter 7, Daniel chapter 8, Daniel chapter 9, Daniel chapter 11, Revelation chapter 12, 13, 14, and so on. Second Thessalonians, where it speaks about the Antichrist. First Peter, the men of sin. They identified unanimously. They identified the papacy as the Antichrist. This is
It's okay. It's okay, Ndumiso.
No, let me finish this point. It's important because when the other brother comes, he will speak until the cows come home. But we have to understand that the Adventist Church is formed in 1863. 1863. The first people to be called Adventists were William Miller and the Millerites, because they believed in the second advent. They were not Seventh-day Adventists, they were Millerites. And this was composed of over 150 denominations. The Seventh-day Adventist Church did not exist. When Luther in the 14th century identifies the papacy as the Antichrist, when Huss in the 12th century identifies the papacy, this is 600, 700 years, 800 years before an Adventist church was thought of. So it's nothing to do with Adventists. That's why I'm mentioning this history. So when we get to people like the guy who formed the Methodist Church, what's his name? Wow, why am I forgetting one of the best theologians? People like Charles Spurgeon, the Baptist Church. All these people, Reverend Ryle in Scotland.